Hello, Poetry Freaks. Welcome to this episode of Poetry Freaks, episode 6, and it's about disembodied poetics. I wanted to talk a little about my paperback poems for wandering ghosts, as the song says, and read a little bit from that. But first, we are going to go ahead and adhere to our traditions, wherein I have my dream whip box with things falling out of it, but I'm not peeking. I'm going to pull out a phrase for the String of Pearls poem we are assembling. Don't forget me, write a song. Yes, isn't that the dream? Of course it is. Nextly, we are going to roll the dice. Oh, I have my bag of dice. I have not gotten so organized that I found the 10-sided die yet. Okay, found it. It was right there, but, there's a jumble. So I will now roll the little 10-sided die. Looks like this. Whoa. And we are going to choose a mood. And for the moods, I have taken at random some of my little poem titles from Disembodied, Poems for Wandering Ghosts. Let's hear it. We landed on 6. That mood is, Do I Merit My Licorice? I will read them for you now as a preview to the book. A little string of pearls of first line / titles from Poems for Wandering Ghosts. Their beers spill. Hello, desolate. What adds up to duncery? I arranged a cookie swap. Oh, damn, not again. Do I merit my licorice? Days in carving shortbread, I beg of you. East End warned me about this. When trills the ego as morning dove? The ghosts who pursue me. And those are some titles from Disembodied, Swish, there's a little swish mark, Poems for Wandering Ghosts. I'm putting the dice away. Can you hear them sing and clatter? Okay, so we have gotten our mood, and that is Do I Merit My Licorice? For a poetic word, and I put the dice away, so here we go again. I want to look at this book by, it's from the Rope Institute, Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It's got a bunch of lectures, just kind of transcripts of lectures that took place. I chose a lecture by Michael McClure from July 17th, 1976, and the title is Cinnamon Turquoise Leather, a Personal Universe Deck. I'm currently flipping through to find the first page of it so you can see this insouciant poetry instructor and poet Michael McClure, how he looked in 1976. Everybody looked like that, and they all had really long legs and really flared pants. So right on, Michael McClure. Michael McClure, a Personal Universe deck, he suggests assembling 100 words, and there's a way to do it that maybe we will go into more later, but you've got to have 10 for each of the 5 senses, and then you've got to have ones that are like parts of the body and verbs and nouns, and you got to make it all balanced. And he makes it sound really intimidating. Well, I mean, if you're reading it, because you're like, oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be. But I think to sit down and think of 100 words that you love. I mean, it could come easily and it could come very difficult, just depending on which way the wind's blowing that day. So we'll talk more about that another time. But at the moment, we are going to, with the words that Michael McClure had in bold in his transcript of his lecture in July 17th, 1976, some of the words that he was choosing for his deck. We landed on 8, and the 8th word is bread. Do I merit my licorice? Bread, by way of bread. That list of words is turquoise, cinnamon, leather, thunder, musk, swim, rose, bread, curry, falcon. He emphasizes they must all 100 sound good together. They must sound beautiful. And I think those are some really beautiful words. However, it's going to be subjective. Maybe everybody doesn't think musk or swim is a beautiful word. I kind of do. But he makes this big argument for why even if you love hamburgers, you can't choose the word hamburger because it's not a beautiful word that sounds good with all the other words. So strict for a freewheeling school of poetry, but then again, it makes you think. So that's cool. So we've got our prompt for the next poem, which will be, Do I Merit My Licorice? And the word bread. So, pardon me, having broken the rules, and I will break this rule, I believe, I keep saying things like that, and then I'm going to have to either edit them out or just be like, ignore that, ignore that, ignore that. I may or may not write a poem to insert right here. If I don't, it won't be there, and you'll know because I haven't written my Paul Laurence Dunbar inspired poem. In fact, I have to go back and remember what the mood and the word were, see what we can come up with. All right, so onward to the poetry reading, maybe beginning with the poem that I was supposed to write for this episode, and then going on with Disembodied, Poems for Wandering Ghosts. Okay, cuties, I'm back. Like I wasn't gonna write a poem. Went out on the front porch, smoked some halflings. Certain people discard half cigarettes, and I make good use of them. Here we are. I'm singing Here to You, Love, by way of lark, a love song. Here I lark, my skylark, under the moon we share, full strawberry moon of June, and your lark song in my hair. Though you are distant, high, you write, I sing to you, my heart's delight. I'm singing here to you, love, and our songs waltz star to star above. Well, decadent, sort of a decadent poem. So that is that. I didn't want to break the streak. So onward to the reading. From Disembodied, Poems for Wandering Ghosts. Don't forget that title. Hey there, poetry freaks. I'm here to talk to you about some disembodied poetics. And namely, to show you my book, Disembodied, Poems for Wandering Ghosts. And it is new in my hands today. I think, well, here's the pile of poems. I found this pile of poems in the basement. I think it was a week ago today. In the preface of this book, I mentioned finding them yesterday as of this writing. And that preface is dated June 15th, 2024. Today is June 21st. That's really cool because this is a, print on demand copy. So it's June 19th. So like right there in the preface, June 15th, 2024, right there, made in the USA, 19th of June, 2024. So wow, what a great time to be alive. I found this pile of poems a week ago, almost threw them away because I was trying to clean out my basement. Had forgotten them entirely. I wrote them about a year and a half ago. And now, like a week later, I got the book in my hands. And it's available on Amazon.com. I wanted to let you know. I will read the preface and then a few poems, and that will be what we do. All right. Preface. This continuous moan song poem was written a year and a half ago, possibly all in one night or inside of a week, and I almost threw it away. I was cleaning my basement art room just yesterday. The poetry now called Disembodied was mixed up in a stack of miscellaneous papers, and I only just stopped short of chucking them out with the trash. These verses sprang out at a singular dreamlike time, in that sleepwalking halo just before Christmas and into New Year's, bleeding into early January, unemployed, clinging to the unsustainable poet's life in a withered marriage. I stumbled on the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics and was set to drop everything and run to Colorado for 2 years, if only the price tag had matched the school's humble beat poet beginnings. But nay. Still, I gorged on the notion of disembodied poetics, radically exploratory and experimental writing, twined with contemplation, innovation, joy, and freedom in the writing practice. I tried out their emotional dance flows and let my body and words glitter and rage. Then I got a job, watched my marriage evaporate, and made some grand new discoveries in life and love. It's not the kind of thing I could look back on any sooner than I did. I'm glad I bumbled onto these verses yesterday. I had completely forgotten them, surely discounting them when they made no splash, or so I thought, in that annual chapbook contest I insist on entering almost every January. In fact, my journal confirms that I was going to submit this collection, but ditched it, calling it all over the place, in favor of other spur-of-the-moment poems I must have known were pretty lackluster. I dig these verses now. They're like bottled lightning. For the briefest moment, I was the kind of poet I'd longed to be. Who knows if that can be rebottled, reclaimed? Some things can only happen in an intense liminal state, in a season of the wandering ghost, in the thralls of mystical holidays and dark winter, when dreams repeatedly warned of journey, change, regret, and timidity. The time for boldness was at hand, and the muses showed up. Amy Zoller's McAnally, June 15th, 2024. Just a week ago, or so. About 6 days ago. So I'm going to just choose some poems that I bookmarked here, and I will read them for you now. Oh, damn, not again. I glittered up another job interview. Thankfully, I have gone middle-aged and reckless, and their interest wanes. For such unsound bebop as this, I would abandon my philosophy counter. The Hungarian for God and Stephen, when rapidly repeated, makes a pleasing cantrell. Easton, Istvan, infinity. This is of poetic concern. This is all a sprint from that day, a perfectly reasonable day, firm in its moderate splendor. The coffee house boasted a faux cone stove of the modernist variety glowing with fairy lights, and the many ceramic owls called to mind my great-uncle-in-law, an artist, and the wooden owl he so moodily carved. He left behind an iconic self-portrait, a woodcut print, scarlet on cream, immortalizing his 1950s scream. Or laugh? The barista raved when I told her about it, but I was reminded of my neglected prayers and my certainty that Istvan wishes better of me. Istvan wishes nothing related to that day. His omniscience is merely delusional. Delusion, however, piles on her finest costume jewelry for her graveyard wanderings. No one tells her when to abandon her philosophy counter. Thanks to you, Bob Dylan, and your tarantula, I am bald as molasses in January. Thanks to you, Dean Martin's Christmas album, my hair overflows my poinsettia apron in silver-toned tumbles, and a splash of wayward wassail has burned my thigh. Must a philosophy be labored and sweaty? May it not blurt forth cantankerous between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m.? May it not shimmer and tremble under shadows of tree skeletons at winter windows, then sour the mouth of the morning, tarnished and treacly? Thanks to you, East End, the divine frenzy is upon me. The ghosts murmur, I can't sleep. They hush me and stroke my hair, only to slap my face with shaving cream in the next breath, threatening to draw a wang on my face, in permanent marker, the night before the school dance. My philosophies close their eyes and inhale the clove-studded Lucky Tiger hair oil of those gone before, then faint in their splintering ecstasy. A simmering, shimmering freak in the hand is worth 2 in the films, 4 in the magazines. My delusions of grandeur are Istvanic in nature. I do it all again for the splintering ecstasy. Days in carving shortbread, I beg of you. Days in caterwauling of pen, of roaming the grounds by night to sing and mortify. Once you have tasted of it, you cannot go back. You, once dutiful, are obstinate, and the cubicles of another's design are objects of scorn, and fade into television snow. Their moon differs entirely. No neighbor or uncle of your priceless moon. Their moon is a rubber slap bracelet to your lily-crested emerald dragon. Okay, onward. So long as the fictional crying ghost does the crying, the protagonist is free to suspend grapes in gelatin after a suitable chilling period of 45 minutes in the captivating alpine mold. Otherwise, they sink to the bottom, which on unmolding becomes the top. So long as the fictional crying ghost does the crying, everyone else looks sane and capable. Crying ghost is the one with the problem. The rest of us have pulled ourselves together admirably. Crying ghost is jazzed as the veil thins tonight, and he can really go at it with the anguish. Cat ghost is jealous of the newspaper. The old men at the scout meeting discuss who still takes which local newspaper. They have been affiliated with this scout troop for nigh on to 50 years, since the flared pant legs first came into fashion, and the school children were warned to beware of magicians peddling drugs. And the homemade birthday cakes still had that alarming Technicolor murder clown look to them. No one else takes the newspapers anymore. Cat ghost must traverse the night and be jealous elsewhere. Oh God, I failed him in my shrieking. I dunced it. No emotional diploma is mine. No emotional diplomat, me. I am a public service announcement 1972. The agony roils within me. I cannot abide the look of that child crying on the bed in his ball cap. Son, this is my guilt pour. This is my vomited regret, my confessional, my duncing. This will be the source of my ghost wail. Years of shrieking, of duncing, where I should have danced. Beautiful and terrible both. Which is it? You and he and the cream soda and the holes in the music. And I think that will do for now. Thank you for listening to my reading from Disembodied, Poems for Wandering Ghosts by Amy Zollers McAnally, now available on Amazon. And I'm going to put the link in whatever this is, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube. or the podcast. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you'll check it out. I hope you'll find some freedom with your poetry. I am definitely going to talk about disembodied poetics after this. With my train case filled with the call of the void, and my paperback poems for wandering ghosts, whiskey rhinestones as bright as they come for the agate eyed lonely one. The poetry mildews by the bathroom pipes, dripping and smearing the wanderer's plight. Okay, that was a little clip from a song called Whiskey Rhinestones from episodes 21 and 22 of Podcast in A Minor. If you want to check that out, I had written a story, I'd written that song based on a story I'd written. And in the song, she's got the paperback poems for wandering ghosts, and so I'd always wanted to have one by that title, and now there is. And it was just, I was like sort of laboring on it, and then when I found that just found stack of poems last week, I'm like, this is the Poems for Wandering Ghost. Disembodied title. Poems for Wandering Ghost. Yeah, and so here we are. I want to talk to you a little bit about disembodied poetics, a tiny bit, and then probably a follow-up episode when I've got some, sort of poetry exercises ready and things like that. And I know a little bit more. I've got books about it. I never did go. I applied and got accepted, but the trouble was it was very, very expensive, which was a bummer considering it was, I'll read from the website what they say. It's a cool description of the Naropa University Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics. Take me to your poets. These are among the first words Naropa's founder, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, spoke upon arrival in the United States. Under the guidance of Anne Waldman, Allen Ginsberg, John Cage, Diane DePrima, and Trungpa himself, the Poetics Department at Naropa University was born. The intent? To teach meditators about the golden mouth and to educate poets about the golden mind. Allen Ginsberg and Anne Waldman didn't come to Boulder in the summer of 1974 expecting to find a poetic school named for the outrider Jack Kerouac, and yet decades later the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics is bringing to light a dynamic, ongoing exchange of ideas about the history and legacy of the Beat generation. Naropa has been host to Beat authors and luminaries such as William S. Burroughs, Ken Kesey, Gregory Corso, Joanne Kiger, Philip Whalen, and Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Together, they helped create what Waldman calls the outright lineage, a heritage of powerful scholarship and counter-poetics operating outside the normative academic mainstream. What is an outrider? In the words of Jack Kerouac School co-founder Anne Waldman, outrider means being outside the academic mainstreams of poetry, yet not outside the worlds of poetry. You ride parallel. So that's a really cool description, and that's really what appealed to me, was that I knew I wasn't an academic, and I knew I couldn't go and be an academic, and I couldn't, again, even in this environment that seemed a little more my speed. But I know that they are very into like meditation and things like that. And for me, what I really am drawn to is their poetry exercises, their freedom of writing, and their involvement in the community. How like there's just always poetry going on in the community, and that at the difficult time I was in moment in my life, it seemed like just the thing. And so I do have books on the from there's Disembodied Poetics, edited by Anne Waldman, Beat Generation poet, founder of it, one of the founders of it, 1974, the year of my birth. Talking Poetics from Naropa Institute 1 and 2. So these were things that I started to dive into, and then life got really distracting. So go listen to episode 77 of Podcast in A Minor if you want all the details. It's called Strong Ghost, and it just tells you exactly what was going on at that time. That was a great distraction, made me forget all about this poetry, made me kind of put Disembodied Poetics by the wayside. But I would like to get into that more in a future episode. I don't know when. I would like to say next episode, but I'm probably going to have to do some research and reading and stuff. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me for this episode of Poetry Freaks. And thank you for listening to my reading from Disembodied, Poems for Wandering Ghosts, available on Amazon. I hope you check it out. You can read it for free on Kindle Unlimited, or you can hold it in your hands and put it in your train case. Your poems for wandering ghosts, sitting there beside your tortoiseshell comb. All right. See you next time, Poetry Freaks. Bye-bye.